Welcome back to Catholic Expression. I'm Christy, back with Father Greg for another exciting discussion. As always, our hope is to share some joy, laughter, and meaningful nuggets that bring us all closer to Christ. You ready, Father?
People might have seen this a little bit on YouTube. It's pretty good. In life, there are only two things you need to worry about. Whether you're healthy or sick. If you're healthy, ain't got nothing to worry about. If you're sick, there are two things to worry about. Either you're going to get better or you're going to get worse. If you're going to get better, you got nothing to worry about. If you're going to get worse, there's two things to worry about. Either you're going to live or you're going to die. If you're going to live, you got nothing to worry about. If you're going to die, you got two things to worry about. Whether you go to heaven or whether you go to hell. If you're going to heaven, you got nothing to worry about. If you're going to hell, you got two things to worry about.
Oh, great.
Original, extra crispy.
Oh, no.
The way the guy delivers it is so good. He's in front of the audience and he's just really delivers it so well. He's just really dry about it. And then they just laugh and laugh as he's going through it. It's so good. You got nothing to worry about.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So we start Lent thinking about big things like this. Just two things to worry about.
Yeah, it is the start of Lent.
You're going to live, you're going to die. If you live, you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
If you die, you got two things to worry about.
I think we all have two things to worry about then. It's going to happen at some point.
Always.
Something is going to happen. So every year during Lent, you do, well, I should say we've started the trend every year that during Lent you send out these great video reflections to everybody in the parish.
I send them, absolutely.
Yes, you do. They're from
Team
you.
effort.
Yes, well, but they're very good. And people liked them so much last year that we decided to kind of pair our podcast with those reflections and go a little deeper. So it's going to be a fun discussion today.
So speaking of pairing, I probably will use that opening on Ash Wednesday. I've already used it at the morning mass and probably used it at the other two masses. So people were at the 7, they heard it and like, oh, heard it. If you're going to the later masses, then you can probably say, well, I'm giving it.
Okay.
Start the homily.
Well, maybe it'll be exciting to see how many people have time to listen to this before Mass.
Yeah. Or know it when they come to Mass. Either way.
Yeah, it'll be good.
I did get a few shoes from last week.
I know. I was caught off guard by that. A couple people came up to me randomly. They're like, I can't wait to see shoes today. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, that weird guy.
The podcast. Yeah, that was fun.
Found the shoes.
Well, for those of you who aren't in our parish, if you are interested in learning more about those reflections, they are available on our website. But before we dive into the topic that we have for this week, I thought it'd be good for you to kind of explain really what the season's all about as we approach it.
Well, last Sunday I called it a 40-day challenge. Lent is a 40-day challenge given by the Lord through the church that imitates his 40-day fast before his ministry. In Luke chapter 4, he went 40 days without eating or drinking. So we imitate that in small ways. We're not going to take on a whole 40-day fast like he did completely, but it really helps us to train our appetites and our passions for different things, food, drink, other things that really are speaking to the bigger things in life, bigger passions, bigger sins, or hopefully virtues. But I just see it as like a little segment of time that we can spend focusing on it that hopefully then starts to become year-round. We're not just saying no to things to build up discipline and saying no to serious sin for 40 days, and then we can go back to it, in Easter season and ordinary time. So it should be a year-round practice, but I think for us just to take the small increment of 40 days, which seems really long, we're in it, but it's 40 days out of 365. So it's a mere fraction of the year. It's like a ninth of the year or whatever. So I've always appreciated that approach, just taking small bites and see where you are come Easter.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I look forward to Lent every year for that. It kind of helps build your endurance and persevere through.
It's like a team effort. People who aren't normally into such things know that everyone's doing it. So they all want to give up something and get into Ash Wednesday. And half the church comes to Mass today. They don't even have to. It's not a holy day of obligation. But yet it's one of the most popular, if not the most popular day of the year. people got to get their ashes, and which are signs, we said before, about death and sin. For some reason, people have to have that. And it's just such an earthly joint experience. I don't know. I think I've always found it the season that people get into because it's so earthly, it's so human, and not up in the, heavens and so forth. But then leads to a great place at Easter.
Yeah, I always find it really beautiful to see the pride of people wearing their ashes all day long. All the Christians around the area walking around with hopefully what looks like a cross on their forehead. Yeah. Depends on who's applying it, but
right. Yeah. And again, what it's a sign of. Right? The average Catholic, if they're stopped on the street, which a lot of them are, like, why do you have dirt on your forehead?
Yeah.
Are they going to say, well, it's a sign that I'm a sinner, or that I came from ashes and I will return to ashes? I don't think it's that depth, but there's something in it innate to Catholics that hear the call to repent.
Definitely. Well, let's dive in to the theme for this week, which was surrender and trust. You started the reflection talking about the gospel passage in Matthew 16:24. So can you explain that passage a little bit?
Jesus says, if you wish to follow me, deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me, or come after me. So deny yourself, that's the whole season we're describing. It's 40 days of self-denial in small ways. And that's what we're now begun together this season, saying no to certain desires, certain appetites. And then take up your cross. That things change for people when they see their suffering as a share in the cross, as given by Jesus. It starts to shed more light on it or explain it more. But I think the first one is more like what we're bringing to the table, our sinfulness, our moral issues that we're trying to change, our habits. And denial goes to that. Take up your cross is more what's brought to us, more the innocent victim stuff or innocent suffering. That's the big stuff that we, by and large, take to God regularly, saying, why are you allowing this? So in the video, I talked about that this Lent can be a time to approach that question with another question. Why did God allow it to Jesus? Why did he allow his own son to suffer as an innocent victim? And to arrive at an answer, or to maybe see similarities in your suffering and his. And so then you get the same answers, which the church doesn't have all the answers, but there's a lot there that would make sense of our own suffering if we're looking at his. And that's the whole idea of coming after me or follow me, that I think a lot of people shy away from when they really hear the call or know what it is, or maybe just the initial experience of any suffering they shy away from. And if that's embraced by our church, that's where I think it turns a lot of people off. Even though a lot of people follow the call of Jesus in that way, it's definitely a unique marketing technique to deny yourself, say no to yourself, and take up your cross, which is a form of suffering. And yet he's got a ton of followers from it. There are also a lot of people who have turned away.
So why is it so important to deny yourself or surrender to God's will?
Because you can't be open to the kingdom of heaven otherwise. All of us, especially in our culture, in our first world country, not all of us, but a lot of us have built up our own kingdom, and it's me, me, me. There's no room at the end, literally. No room in the heart for God, for Jesus. So his message overall is it's not you, it's God. To deny it starts with that very point. It's not your kingdom, it's not your life, it's not your goodness, it's the goodness of God. That has to be the starting point with anything with Jesus, is that it's not about me, it's about him.
So it's not denial just for the sake of denial. There's a purpose behind it.
Yeah, I think that you're kind of speaking like sadism, and maybe people brand Christians as sadists to deny just for the sake of denial. I've never seen the point of that. And we don't do it for the sake of it. We do it because he tells us to. And I think he tells us to for the very reason of God's I mean, from the beginning. Israel wasn't the largest country. It was like one of the smallest countries. And God's telling us to get little. That self-denial, deny yourself, deny your ego, deny your pride. That's the point of it. It's never pointless.
So with the invitation to deny ourselves and take up our cross, what do you think people misunderstand the most about that?
I don't know if it's a question of understanding. I think it's a question of knowledge. I don't think they know the invitation. I think people know to give up stuff for Lent. I think people know to go to Mass on Sunday. Most Catholics, there's not a lot there in terms of knowledge, unfortunately. You and I do this podcast not to just for the sake of it. I mean, we have busy schedules. We enjoy it. We love it. But we do it to help people to know their faith better. And you and I came from the ignorant background, clueless Catholic. We've admitted that before. I didn't ever hear this call growing up.
Right.
Did you?
No.
I don't think people misunderstand. They just don't know it. And then when they know it, I've led people in this way on, private matter or private situations, public situations, like on retreats. When they hear that suffering in their life is a share in the cross, and if you take it, you're following the invitation of Jesus to take up your cross. That is life-changing. When people come to know this, I think it does affect them positively. But I can't think of too many people who know it that misunderstand it. And maybe you do. Of just like, Jesus said to suffer for the sake of suffering.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people don't know it. It's a knowledge thing. But I also think part of that knowledge comes with experience. So taking up your cross, taking up suffering, and learning to trust and lean into God and surrender is where you truly find that I get this. I understand why we do this. And that dependency on God changes you.
Yeah, that's kind of a few steps down. Like surrender is a point of our videos, but that's not, I guess that's the word that describes it. But I don't think people in the initial stages that I work with, or even when I started, that was not the vocabulary we used.
Right.
So surrender is a little bit further down, but that's essentially what you're doing is you have your own way of dealing with suffering. And I think our way of dealing it is not a Christian way of dealing it, meaning that the human way is to resist it, to insulate yourself from it, to medicate with other things, or to avoid it, to completely avoid reality and suffering. We're all about pleasure and comfort and those kinds of things. And that's where, even in our church, I'm saying, this very day, Ash Wednesday, half the church comes to Mass, amazingly. But on these big, big days, there's still half the church that doesn't come. I've always marveled at that, in a very disappointed way. And I think the cross has a lot to do with it. Because you come to a Catholic church and that's staring you right in the face. So some of the crucifixes are so large, like in our church. There it is, right in front of you, reality. That a lot of people are like, it's too much reality for me. And so the invitation, whatever we're calling it, misunderstanding or lack of knowledge, people know inherently that's, do I want to meet life's challenges head on like that? Or do I want to sit at home where it's comfortable and watch my TV, or go to my counselor and they're telling me there's nothing wrong with me and it's just I'm a victim and all this other stuff. It's just there's accountability here. There's a reality. There's cold water kind of in the face of just accept it. And like you said, surrender. That's the Christian way. But addressing it is what a lot of people don't like to do.
Yeah. I think we're talking about this now, but what are some practical examples of what it looks like to truly follow Jesus and take up your cross and deny yourself versus just simply like agreeing with him? Yeah, I believe, I understand what he's saying, than actually doing it.
Well, if you look at his own suffering, and this is another thing I'm challenging people to do this Lent, to read a chapter of the gospel every day with a particular focus. You could have a particular focus of how did Jesus handle suffering in his life? How did he surrender? How did he accept it? Look at the night before where he, in his human nature, was really struggling with it to the point where he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through the passion. I don't want to take up the cross. This is Jesus. Let this cup pass me by, the cup of suffering. But 3 times he said, not my will, let your will be done. He knew he had to fully give himself and entrust himself to the Father to the point of death. Mm-hmm. Also in his human nature, he trusted the Father's will implicitly. Even though it's going to be painful, there's going to be a greater good that comes out of it. We talked, I think, last year in the series about Mary knew about what was coming with the death and resurrection. Jesus had to know. He predicted it to the apostles. The Son of Man will suffer, be hated, and killed, and in 3 days rise. So he knew the resurrection. He believed the resurrection was coming. That's as followers of his to have the same approach, to surrender to the will of God, even though it's hard. There's going to be a good coming out of it that it makes this all necessary. Mm-hmm. And that's what we call the greater good, that essentially as you're going through Calvary, there will be resurrection. If you're going through the cross, there will be resurrection.
That's so powerful to really think about, but it's hard to get past the emotions you feel in suffering and going through whatever you're going through. And I just started reading a book called When God Doesn't Make Sense. And something that really stuck out to me based and aligns with what you're saying is to cling to that truth, to go back to the gospel, to understand it, to remember it, and cling to the truth that's in there, because often our emotions mislead us. And remembering that truth in the faith that there is the resurrection after Calvary is huge.
Discipline to check your emotions at the door.
Yeah.
You talk about reality. A lot of times our emotions in the midst of suffering will take us to a happy place, which is fantasizing for the best in the situation, or the suffering will be removed and everything's going to be fine or whatever. Projecting ourselves in a bigger light, or whatever we do with our emotions, good or bad, to get us through a situation. Maybe music helps with that, and that's our coping mechanism, but it can get us in trouble because it's, again, it can take us away from reality. Mm-hmm. And if we dwell and dwell and dwell outside of reality, then it's harder to re-enter it. Then the suffering's even harder. I'm thinking about even like coping mechanisms like alcohol or drugs. Yeah. We know it makes it twice as bad. Emotions can do the same thing. Mm-hmm. If you dwell in emotions and so forth. So it's a great point that I've never dwelled a whole lot on emotions as a priest in my preaching, in my teaching, in my counsel and spiritual direction, for that reason, because you're dealing with reality, and emotions can be misleading and they can take you down the wrong path. They can alienate people in your life, not only just to be emotional, but emotionally charged. Mm-hmm. So part of the thing we're talking about with Lent is controlling your passions, trying to let them simmer a bit, not just passion for, food, drink, sex, whatever it might be, but passion for justice, passion for your kids that has you yelling at basketball games, mm-hmm. that your wife's telling you, settle down. Yeah. You're embarrassing us. You're getting us in trouble. Or at work, you get, too much passion can be a bad thing. And we know how it happens. People are suffering in one area and they take it out in another area in their life. Mm-hmm. They transfer and so forth. So the practice of the cross is to try and, look at Jesus. He didn't get overly emotional. He was dealing with truth. He prayed and prayed and prayed. That's another thing, that the practice of prayer in Lent is helpful to deal with suffering in reality. Mm-hmm. And be quiet and turn off the radio and the music and so forth and just speak with God. That is going to be kind of what dilutes things. If we get heavy with emotion, it can crowd things. But if we can simplify and purify and dilute and recognize that we're not wallowing in this either. Mm-hmm. Emotions can get us wallowing and ruminating. That's unhealthy too. Right. But to deal with it head on with prayers, probably most helpful. Yeah. I know I do that. If something's going on and I'm in a bad emotional state, I'll get in my car and drive and pray the rosary. Mm. It helps a lot to just separate from your environment that you're in and focus on prayer, Mary, God. Just get away for a minute. Yeah, it's just healthier to meet it head on, mm-hmm. and deal with reality. But we have to also we're not completely stoic about it. We're not acknowledging the importance of emotions. Jesus had emotion. He had passion, but not to be overrun by them. That's not healthy. But to acknowledge them and saying, how does this make me feel is not a bad thing, but it's not all about how I feel. It's acknowledging the situation, the truth, owning up when I need to, accepting the imperfection or sins of others like Jesus did. I just find the Christian way of suffering is, I found it to be the best way, the most healthy.
So how does that actually lead us to freedom, like that surrender and the Christian way of suffering?
I think any surrender with the right authority, whether it's to your spouse or to your parents or best friend or to Jesus Christ or the Catholic Church, when it's right to do it, it's very freeing. You just literally like breathe easier because it's not on your shoulders anymore. And to trust in God, if we're giving our suffering to the Lord, He's above everything. He sees this playing out. He knows what's coming. He knows why He's allowing it. It's going to the higher level and saying He knows better than I do, infinitely better than I do. He's in charge. And no matter what this world brings, if I'm with Him, I'm good. And so that really does take so much off of the heart. Matthew 11:28-30, come to me, all you who labor and burden, I'll give you rest. To give Him your burdens, to give Him all the concerns on your heart from suffering, and He gives rest. Like, you're freed of all that stuff. It's like when we talk about confession, you're freed of your sins, but now you have grace to make the right choices. So I would say it's two parts of freedom. First, you're freed of the concern and anxiety, and let God deal with it. I was with someone the other day and said, what was it? People were like overly caring about all the things going on in the world. Said, go to God and say, you created this world, you take care of it. It's not my care. And just like, I don't care. It's all yours.
Yeah.
And that helps. That it's literally freed from your heart. But the second part, if you have His grace, then to help you endure sufferings as you're supposed to. Do you remember how do we describe or define freedom here? How would you describe or define freedom? The ability to choose what?
The good.
The good. So to actually handle suffering in a good way is very freeing. So it's that we relieved of the overall anxiety and so forth, but then also the grace to be a good person at work when stuff's falling around in your home or vice versa. You're not going to be a jerk. You're not going to be mean and angry, all this kind of stuff. You're actually going to be a person with class and dignity and honesty and fairness in the midst of suffering.
So I think that coping with suffering is a lot easier when it makes sense to us, when we understand the why. Like you look in history and today even, that people accept suffering, like law enforcement, our military, they accept that the potential suffering that they're going to endure by protecting us, and because it makes sense to them. It doesn't hurt less, but it makes sense to them. It's a lot harder when things don't make sense. So do you have any advice on how to lean into that trust when it doesn't make sense?
Innocent suffering. I was saying it before. Go to the cross of Christ. Say, look at His innocent suffering that makes zero sense.
Right.
God Himself suffering horribly from the start. It wasn't like, okay, after the 40-day fast, now He's going to suffer. He suffered from the beginning when we just talked about the nativity scene. That cold, wet, dark, miserable scene that He goes into. He's born into that. God coming into our mess. So start there. I've always directed people to His life, His cross, His death, and know that He was the ultimate innocent victim. But you're right. All the other forms of suffering, if you get drunk, your hangover is not a, mystery.
Yeah.
Because if you slit your wrists, that's why you're suffering.
Yeah.
And that's not the Christian suffering we're talking about. Christian suffering is when it's brought to you from another or from outside of you through no fault of your own. That's the cross. And it is a mystery ultimately. We don't have all the answers. But it has to go, it causes us to go deeper. and to ask these questions. And ultimately, the church says that suffering is a natural result of sin, either your sin or the sins of others, or sin in general. So you're saying it makes sense. Like when we make the connection between sin, like law enforcement or military, they know they could get shot.
Right.
Like people could commit that sin against them. They take that risk, whatever the violence could be against them. And we make that connection too. But when it's like sin in general, that happened to Jesus, on top of the sins, directly against him by those in his passion and his life, that's when it's like a little bit more mysterious. But still, that's the cause of it.
Yeah. There's so much mysteriousness in our faith in general, too. The good stuff, too. Not just suffering.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That the heavenly stuff, it confuses people. As we know in our experience, it takes a lot to get people excited about that. And also, too, I think when there is suffering, people are more open to it. Like earthly stuff just stinks.
Yeah.
And then you bring in heavenly stuff that's new for them that doesn't stink. Like, let me try this on. And it's not just about pie in the sky or, live in the clouds. We're still grounded, but and this is kind of the point of all of this, that God raises us up above all the crud of this earth, including suffering. That he literally came to raise us up out of all this. But we're not above it. He's in it himself. We're in it. We're grounded on earth, but our spirit is lifted above it. And that's the spirit of heaven.
Right. So we don't carry a cross just to carry it. Hopefully it transforms our life in some way. And you started this discussion saying the next 40 days of Lent, hopefully it doesn't stop there. So how can we get through Lent and let it truly transform us versus just like a 40-day diet plan?
If there are spiritual reasons for it, it's not going to be just a diet. I think I don't agree with doing it for dietary reasons. If I hear people talking about doing it for to lose weight, I'm like, that's not the point.
Right.
If it's from your heart and for your soul, then just let it happen. Grace takes over, and we can only do so much to transform ourselves. It's grace. So the blockage would be if someone is doing it for their own purposes, for their own vanity, then again, that's kind of blocking out what God intends for their Lent. But if people are just open and it's best they can determine, they're going to give up this, they're going to do that, and just let grace transform you. Don't try and do too much. In fact, when I direct people, just today I was talking with somebody who like, well, I want to do this for them, I want to do that. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. You don't want it to be the look what I'm doing for Jesus show.
Right.
It's like, just do your simple thing like everybody else. Be humble, be a team player, but be open. If people have that desire for what you're, talking about, transformation, it should be in a particular area, not just this general, like, Jesus, change me. It's like, Jesus, help me to be more chaste. Help me to be more patient. Help me to be more meek this Lent. I preached on it last Sunday, like particularly with anger and lust, choose one thing and one of these techniques that might help you. Grace, if you have that desire, grace will fulfill it, hopefully by the end of Lent, and that will lead you to continue it through Easter.
That's a great way of looking at it. So all of this is really great to talk about, but it can be overwhelming and intimidating when we talk about it. So what do you say, or what advice do you give to listeners who are just afraid to even start this because of what surrender might cost them?
To start Lent or take up your cross?
Take up your cross.
I mean, it's, again, we start with denial. That's where Lent is. We can all start with giving up chocolate or whatever. Take up your cross is deeper. It's hopefully a conversation that people have started with the Lord. I would look at his cross. If you don't want to bring your cross to him, then bring his cross to you. Look at his cross. Look at him in the gospel. How did he accept, again, not only suffering, during Holy Week, what we call Holy Week, but his whole life. We just had a gospel the other day where there are people testing him, and he was pained to, like, his heart, it said, or he just, from the depth of his being, he was really like suffered at their testing him, their lack of faith, their lack of hope. So throughout his life, he suffered and endured that and accepted it. So if you're not ready to have the conversation with him about your stuff, look at his stuff. How did he handle it? And there's going to be, I guarantee there's going to be something that will happen while you do that will click. That's what he wants you to start with.
So I'm going to modify the answer I gave you about take up your cross, but I think your answer probably applies to this as well. But even you were talking about for Lent, asking God to help you with meekness or with your anger. But there are people that may realize they have an anger issue, but are scared to move away from that because of what it costs them, their power, their pride, or what have you. So kind of same question with that, like the denying yourself in an area you know you need to, but it could cost you in other ways.
We presume that people are bringing this to confession. That people are listening to this. Hopefully they've heard us talk about confession. They're addressing it in prayer, in confession, in their examination of conscience. I think they've tackled it before now. It may just be one thing a priest says. I think I told you that I work with somebody on their anger, especially when they're driving. And I say, well, put on like I love Jesus sticker on your car. It's like, I can't do that. Like, why not? It's like, because okay. Like, and he puts it on and it curbs the anger.
Right.
Put on a Roman collar as a priest and try and, get mad at people while you're driving or at a basketball game. It's going to curb it.
Right.
So there could be a suggestion, a technique that God gives you this Lent that you need to get started or make a serious correction. That's how this works. I know it's an overwhelming proposition to deny yourself and take up your cross, but you and I have benefited from specific suggestions, particular to us, that got our attention and made really helpful changes.
Right. And to your point, it's little changes over time, not huge ones. And those little changes, you feel more and more of that freedom and you want to make the change. So I hope people that are intimidated to start, just make that little tweak and start experiencing that freedom themselves.
Yeah, you mentioned diet. I'm thinking about parents. How do you change the diet of your kids as they get older? It's not like, okay, we're going to adolescent food now. You do it little by little, don't you? I mean, you're a parent.
Yeah.
So it's like God has us on a diet. And he's changing it and taking us more away from the child food into closer to the adult food. But we're not ready for adult food. This is what St. Paul writes. So when you're a child, you ate like a child. And now as an adult, you're going to eat that way. So God, it's a lot of the spiritual principles apply from practical living like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so this is a random surprise for you.
Okay.
I think I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. I am surprised how quickly the snow melted.
I know.
I was driving back Saturday night, and I'm like, I can see a lot of the ground. And that was just after the warmth on Saturday, and we've had this rain. I guess it was Sunday, but it's just nice to see even mud. Dirt.
I know. It is. This is going to sound so ridiculous, but we have this really beautiful set of statues depicting Our Lady of Fatima and the 3 shepherd children. And the 3 children have been covered in snow. And this morning I came in and they're completely uncovered. I'm like, oh, they're free.
They're free. You can see the sheep.
They're finally free. I know.
Yeah, they were in like quicksand for days. And now they're free.
They're free. We can see the children.
Sign of what's coming for us. Freedom.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Father, and thank you all for joining us for this episode of Catholic Expression. We hope today's conversation inspired you, and as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support means everything. It helps us to reach more people and continue spreading God's love. Until next time.
May God bless you this Lent. Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Amen.